Welcome back to Hoops HD, everybody. It is Monday, January 19th, and it's about
Woohoo!
4 o'clock in the afternoon. So what the heck are we doing, Griggs? We don't do shows at 4 o'clock.
Well, we had to do today's on a special time. There's a really big sporting event tonight that most of us were interested in and did not want to miss. So that combined with the Martin Luther King holiday. But as you know, Chicago State and New Haven are playing tonight at 7 o'clock, and we I wanted to make sure we wanted to make sure that everybody at Hoops HD could watch that game uninterrupted.
Yeah, I've got my Chromecast set up so I can watch it on my TV and my computer and my phone all at the same time. So,
Yes.
uh, triple screen on New Haven, Chicago State.
Yes, NEC Front Row. It's a free download. You should download the app, and then you can watch it. Because
Uh,
what the hell else are you going to watch tonight?
Tell you what, before we get into our normal going through of all the major conferences in the news, a couple of little things to hit on. First of all, Tytel, I want to turn to you because you had a chance to hit the NCAA convention this past week. I know you did a write up on it on the website. You any thoughts on what happened and what you saw?
Yeah, I'd be happy to share some brief stories. It was great. They gave me a press pass. I could only go for one day, but did it Wednesday. It moves around every year, but it was in National Harbor out in Maryland, which is accessible from DC. So I gave it a shot. They had a bunch of different sessions. In the morning, I went to one on sports betting. It was quite an eye opener. Like I knew in general about it's dangerous to allow kids to place prop bets, and it's dangerous for their mental health because they're 18-year-old kids with people having money on them. But the eye opener for me was the death threats on social media, like not just the players, but like coaches and refs, and like it is out of control. I'll talk much more about that at the end of the show, but there was also some discussion about NIL deals with the College Sports Commission, which was amazing just because the amount of work they're doing. Like they're doing hundreds of deals a day, 7 days a week that they're overseeing with millions and millions of dollars. There was also the NCAA honors event in the evening. I got to see uh, Tamika Catchings and Drew Brees, amongst many others, and just these incredible stories of there's a baseball coach who jumped in a river to save somebody's life, just the nicest stories. And then I didn't get to ask a question to Charlie Baker, the president of the NCAA, or ACC Commissioner Jim Phillips, but got to say hi to them very briefly, and they seem nice. So if you ever get the chance to attend a convention, I recommend you give it a shot.
Yeah, summer meetings in Las Vegas this summer. I don't know if I'll be there or not. I'm banned from both NCAA conventions and the city of Las Vegas.
Well, I would recommend not going then. But Griggs, one other piece of news that we heard come out this week. Well, it's a couple pieces of news off the court. We'll get to one of them at the end of the show. But there was official changes made beginning this year to the transfer portal that I think you and I are both very supportive of. Can you talk about
Yeah.
those a bit?
Well, essentially, they actually made what I think is a common sense change. For men's and women's basketball, the portal will now not open until the day after the national championship game, and it'll remain open for 15 days. I, for one, don't know how much of a factor it being 15 days versus 30 makes, but at the very least, because I just think most of the people that decide to go into the portal decide to do it in the first day or two. But at the very least, once it closes, it gives coaches the ability to know who's returning or who's obligated to return, or at least who's not in the portal. The rule before where they went in after the round of 32, I think it was just mayhem because you had situations you might recall last year where kids were jumping into the portal, but they were still playing for their current teams. And you also had situations like what we saw at Duke, where a coach had accepted a head coaching job and left the team so he could get to Miami and be there before the portal closed. The other caveat is when there is a coaching change, the portal will once again open, but it won't be for a full 5 days until after a new coach had been hired, as opposed to opening right away.
I guess that one I guess could be a little bit weird. So players that are on a team and their coach leaves, they can
Yes,
transfer, but the portal now
yes,
will not open until the new coach is hired. Well, what if
correct.
the school decides to name an interim coach and not hire a new coach until the middle of November?
That is a good question, and the answer is I don't know. I think by the rule, I guess that in that situation, if a player did not go in the 15-day window that was open to them, they can't go in. The way it reads is
Well,
that they have to name a head coach.
then I guess they could transfer for the second semester if that would happen.
Yeah,
So if the coach is fired in June and a new one's not hired until October or November, it could be a weird situation. I mean, most
yeah,
schools are not going to wait that long to hire,
right.
but you do see situations with interim coaches that are named that could play out a whole season as the interim coach.
Yeah, you do see that.
Anyhow, let's get to what went on the court. And I think if we did it right here, we should have the screen share showing up coming up. I figured we'd start things off in the SEC. And Griggs, heading into the week, we had a small handful of undefeated teams left. Vanderbilt fell and then fell again out of that ranks of the undefeated. 0-2 week here, rough week for the Commodores.
Yeah, rough week for them, a very good week for the Florida Gators, who I think are playing better than anyone else in the SEC and maybe as well as anyone in the nation. Vandy still a strong team, not to dismiss them, but the game against Texas, I was a little surprised. I wasn't surprised that Texas won. It was a road game, and it's never easy to win on the road. But Texas kind of ran away from that. It didn't feel like at any point that Texas was not in complete control. The second game that they lost was far more competitive. It was at home, but I still think that this is a very, very good Vanderbilt team. I think that they're a protected, seeded caliber team, and more the way I take that wasn't so much a bad disappointing loss by Vandy as I do it was a great win for a Florida team that is playing exceptionally well right now.
Yeah, tell that this Florida team, uh, yeah, they have five losses, which is a lot for this point in the season for some of these teams, but the resume has just completely turned around from where they were a few weeks ago, hasn't it?
Definitely. I mean, a loss at Missouri by two is not the end of the world, and they've already won four before that and four after that, so 8 out of 9. Should beat LSU on Tuesday, and then Auburn comes this weekend, which is winnable but difficult. The amazing thing is they're doing this without three-point shooting. You remember last year they were raining threes all season. I think it was a big factor in their success. This year, 350th in the nation, only 28% behind the arc. Luckily, they have so many big men down low. Thomas Houck, Alex Condon, Ruben Chinyelu, that they just rebound the misses and then dunk them. So that's how they're doing so well. But it's rare to see a team so cold from beyond the arc doing so well on the court.
I think it's just kind of a situation where they took them a little while this year to learn how to play with a new group of personnel, a new style of play almost without the 3-point shooting. Uh, but I think that the talent is here. And I agree with Griggs that this is one of the hottest teams in the nation right now, and uh, this team could be flying up the seed list here. I think we put
Yeah.
them on our 4 line last night. They could be a 2 seed by the end of the day. Don't know with 5 losses that they'll ever quite make the 1 line, but they could be there.
Probably not the one line, but if you look at the remaining schedule and you can see it. Well, now you can't. Jeez, Chad, you take the team sheet off. But you start to go down and you look at how they're playing now, and you're like, they could win out. I mean, I'm not making that bold prediction, but you would think that they would be favored in every remaining game.
A couple other teams had good weeks. Titel, Alabama, real nice week. Not that they beat great teams, but they've got picked up 2 road wins, and that's always impressive.
Amen. Coach Nate Oates has had a great track record recently. Final four in 2024, Elite Eight in 2025. So he knows the value of having a tough schedule during the season to prepare you for future success. This season, the toughest strength of schedule in the nation. Beat St. John's, beat Illinois, beat Clemson, lost to Purdue, Gonzaga, and Arizona. They started conference play 1 and 2, losses to Vandy and Texas, but they bounced back last week with the 2 road wins you mentioned over Mississippi State and Oklahoma. They get the whole week off, which is good because they've had a lot of injury problems, specifically Keaton Bristow and Latrell Wrightsell Jr. So hopefully they'll all be healthy when they host Tennessee on Saturday. And the key for them offense, 93 points a game, fourth best in the country, 13 threes a game, second best in the country. And that's because they might not have a better backcourt duo in the nation than LeBaron Philon and Aiden Holloway, combining for 40 points, 6 boards, 9 assists, and 2 steals a game.
Wow. Uh, Griggs, I think we also got to address Kentucky here. Real
Yeah.
nice week for them. Two quad one way, one A, one B road wins this week.
Yes. So for a team that, I mean, it just looks sort of anemic, their resume prior to that, to go on the road and get those and to battle back in both those games, trailed LSU by 18 in the second half and won on just a ridiculous, almost flukish. I don't want to take it away because it was so beautifully executed, but they essentially had a second to go the length of the court, and this came after two LSU free throws when just one of them would at least secured an overtime probably uh, to win the game in LSU, and that was a game they really needed. And then to come back, I don't think Kentucky had a lead in that Tennessee game until there was about 90 seconds to go, and they trailed by double digits for seemingly more than half the game. So you're kind of seeing a team uh, that when they're starting to battle back. Now, the next step is how do you avoid needing to come back and play strong for the full game? But this has gone from a team that just had nothing on their profile, and I was arguing we shouldn't even be selecting them at our checkpoint bracket shows to solidly in the field and getting better. And you start to look at them, they have their next two should be winnable home games.
Yeah, it should be. And if they do get these two, especially, we could be talking about it as this is the week that maybe even saved Mark Pope's job, quite honestly, the way this team
Yeah,
had been going. Uh, if
you're
this
not
is the
kidding.
springboard to an NCAA tournament bid and maybe even a team that gets back into the rankings here in a couple of weeks. On the
Yeah.
other hand, they could also go 0-2 this week, the way they've played this season. So who knows? Uh, Titel, by the way, Jalen Lowe there. You have a few comments on him?
Yeah, sadly, they're not great. As you can see, he only played 9 games because he had some injury problems at the start of the year. Sadly, his year is done, out for the year with right shoulder surgery. So they've actually been winning without him, which is the most amazing part. But it will hopefully not hurt them too much in the months ahead.
Yeah, notice that injury news there in the bottom. Sometimes we miss some data on that. I'm looking for a better source to make certain what's better, but we do the best we can here. But uh,
Yeah.
I guess finishing up with the conference, the one other team that I think is worth a couple seconds here is the Texas Longhorns.
Well,
Uh, and Griggs, I wanted to give you a couple seconds to speak on them because I know you had thoughts on them from last night when we did our bracket rundown show. Uh, I just don't think it's a tournament team, but I want to give you a few more seconds to speak about them.
yeah. Well, I mean, I think that in terms of are they a tournament team or are they not, at least there's something on their profile now. And when you're kind of comparing them to the rest of the bubble at this juncture in the season, there's a whole lot of nothing. I'm certainly not, you know, I'm certainly not like a huge proponent of selecting them, but the win at
Okay.
Alabama was really good, a protected seat on the road, and then beating Vanderbilt probably also a protected. That's a good week. When you win two games against protected seeds in 1 week, that's a good week.
But then they
Even
turn
if they
around
did
and
lose at home.
turn
Yeah,
around and lose the home game to Texas A&M. Uh, Rocco
yeah.
Miller joining us from Bracketeer.org, by the way. Rocco, we were just in our first conference here at the SEC, just going through some of the results. And maybe I'll
Rocco,
throw it
did
to
you just come on? You didn't hear what I said about you before you came on, did you? Okay, good, because I didn't say
I
anything.
just came on.
All
he
right,
just
good.
he didn't say anything about you. Uh, Rocco, as we finish up the SEC here, an interesting week
Yes,
for
sir.
this Texas A&M team. A tough double overtime loss to Tennessee, followed up by a road win at a Texas team that had just beaten Vanderbilt. So, and here they are actually tied with A&M tied with Florida for first place in the conference.
They are, and they have Mississippi State and South Carolina coming to College Station this week. So really amazing opportunity to get to 6-1, Chad. And obviously, they've turned a corner since the overtime loss to SMU. In fact, the SMU overtime loss and the Tennessee State, or excuse me, the Tennessee double overtime loss, if you flip those into wins, they would be 16-2 and
They
14 wins in a
probably
row.
be a three seed right now, right? Or two seed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, they would have a 14 game winning streak right now. So that just shows you how they've really clicked into the buckyball mentality. A couple early setbacks to Oak State and UCF got them on the straight and narrow, and I think they've just been, especially here in the last month, I would say they've They've been able to really get it going in terms of asserting their tempo, setting the tone, just playing that tenacious style that we've seen in the SoCon for years,
Yeah.
and doing it with obviously much better players now. And the way that they can execute with this style of play has been excellent. And they're also getting it done defensively. A top 35 defense the last month. They've done a really good job defending the perimeter, holding their opponents to under 30% on several occasions from behind the arc. So Texas A&M's got it rolling right now, and now it's up to the league to adjust to them.
And
Let's.
getting better and just a fun team to watch.
There's a lot of big games coming up this week. Beginning, I guess we got to look at a couple of these games tomorrow night. Vanderbilt at Arkansas, a battle of two nationally ranked teams. Georgia at Missouri. Auburn's got a road test at Ole Miss that they really could use. Texas,
Yeah.
Kentucky, Auburn at Florida Saturday, and how about Tennessee at Alabama coming up as well here? Uh,
Yeah. So what I see there, Chad, is a lot of stakes. These are not, I mean, I don't want to say they're not showcase games, but it isn't simply a showcase game. Missouri still has work to do. Vandy is on a two-game losing streak and wants to pull themselves out of the tailspin. Auburn has a lot of work to do, and while winning at Ole Miss isn't going to, you know, put them isn't going to slingshot them up the seed list. It'll certainly help. Kentucky, Texas, even though with their two bigs, they still have work to do. So, whereas in the Big 12, when we highlight that, it just seems like showcase games between protected seeds facing off against each other. Am I wrong in saying that these games feel like they have a few more stakes to them? Tennessee still hasn't won a road game and needs to win one.
they do. They'll have that chance at Alabama. I think big weeks, though, actually, for both Auburn and LSU. These were two of the last teams we put in last night in our bracket rundown show. They both have a pair of road games this week, and not
Yeah,
easy ones, especially with LSU having to go to Florida and Arkansas. Uh,
right.
there's no shame for losing to Florida and Arkansas, but I don't think they could be in our tournament next week, in our tournament bracket next week if they go 0-2. It's just too many losses.
Yeah, probably not. And somebody else in the bubble is going to assert themselves.
Let's jump over to the Big 12 conference, where Rocco, maybe we start with the number one team in the nation here. Arizona beats their rivals and then got a real nice win at a UCF team that we had been praising about how well they'd been playing lately.
Yeah, Titel's Wildcats are unstoppable so far,
Mhm.
and the two games last week were the first two in league play that were actually settled in single digits. They actually got a really nice test from the rival Sun Devils in Tucson, but of course prevailed down the stretch as Arizona tends to do. And then I think the UCF game was also a pretty good test. Like obviously UCF up for that game. I thought it was a tough spot schedule wise for Arizona coming off the rivalry emotions and then flying cross country. But this team is so darn unflappable when it comes to the front court play, just the sheer athleticism that they bring to the table. And I think it's almost like you can't say it's travel proof or schedule spot proof, but when you're playing the UCFs, if they have a week where they play Texas Tech, BYU back to back, then fine, they probably drop one. But Arizona State at UCF, I think even on Arizona's C or D performances, they still get by, and they were able to get by UCF, who in their own right is an amazing rebounding team, and Arizona still out rebounded them by one. And so that just shows you the effort and energy was where it needed to be.
Titel, Texas Tech, another team that's sitting here now at 4-1 in conference play. They picked it. They had a nice week as well.
I would say so. Coach Grant McCasland, he's won 23 or more in each of his past 4 years after a double-digit win over BYU last Saturday. 14-4 this year. I think he's got a good shot of making it 5 for 5. Tough schedule to finish the month at Baylor, host Houston, at UCF, and the star big man JT Toppin, second team All-American last year, allegedly got $4 million to return this year, and is top 15 in the nation in scoring and rebounding. Legit shot at National Player of the Year, but he's terrible shooter from both 1 point land and 3 point land. So I suggest you foul him. His teammate Christian Anderson, however, has made the biggest improvement of anybody. Certainly solid last year, 11 points, 2 assists a game. He's turned into arguably the best point guard in the nation, 20.7 assists a game this year.
Wow, 7.47, yeah, 7 assists a game. What a number. Um, Griggs, I skipped it a little bit, but let's go to it now. The game of the week in the conference, the upset of the week, the court storming that may have invalidated it. Cincinnati knocks off Iowa State in just a shocker.
Yes. While I always say that it's never easy to win on the road and you can't take road wins for granted, this one was one that I think we were all still taking for granted that Iowa State would beat them. Cincinnati, very, impotent all season long, outside the top 100, I think, in most metrics. And for Iowa State to just show up and just sort of be brain dead like that, it really was one of the more surprising results of the year so far, at least for me. And especially since Iowa State was coming off of a loss, you'd think that they would have like really sort of not been overlooking them and let's get on the road and this is a winnable game and let's just get back to business. But Cincinnati upsetting them, and if you look at Iowa State, I think it certainly knocks them. Well, they had been undefeated, so we were putting them on the one line. And last night, I think they knocked them down to the three. I still think that they're as good as they were a week ago, even though that with two more losses, I think their ceiling is just as high. I think that they will get it right. I just think that they're just sort of entering sort of a lull in their season right now. But that one was kind of surprising.
Well, they better not make it three straight with the home with UCF coming in this week, and after which they
Yeah.
do have some easier games in terms of who the opponents are coming up for a bit. I think the
Yeah.
other surprising team, Rocco, this week was TCU, a team that was toying with the bubble. Real disastrous, almost a disastrous week this week. Losing at BYU, excusable. Losing at Utah.
Yeah, the altitude is tough, Chad.
Mhm.
Those of us from the original Pac-12 understand that all too well. But yeah, they fall short against the Utes. Utes stepped up, obviously, an evolving and rebuilding program under first-year head coach Alex Jensen. Congrats to the Utes, Terrence Brown, the transfer from your backyard school, Fairleigh Dickinson, Chad. 26 points in the game, played a tremendous game, only one turnover. But yeah, TCU's been wildly all over the place, mainly because in this particular game, I thought Layla Vicious, the transfer from Oregon State, had a really, poor showing, just scoring 2 points in 14 minutes. He got quickly hooked for a sophomore, Micah Robinson, who did play pretty well. But I thought, it's the execution piece that I think is driving Jamie Dixon wild. This game started 21-9 Utah in the first 10 minutes, and they were in a deep hole that they just couldn't recover from. And I think preventing those types of starts, playing a full 40 minutes is required in anywhere in the Big 12. And Horned Frogs had to learn the hard way in a tough loss.
Uh, Tytel, maybe real quickly here. The Kansas Jayhawks got that win over Iowa State. Not only beat them, but beat them by 21 points, and then took care of Baylor as well. Jayhawks are back.
Yes, I would argue they were only gone because their best player, Darren Peterson, was gone. But as you see, he had 32 against TCU, 16 against Iowa State, uh, 26 against Baylor. I mean, when he's healthy, they're as good as anybody in this conference, which, like, I don't want to believe, but it's true. Peterson is the best player on this team, and hopefully he can remain healthy. He's only playing like 25 minutes a game, so remains to be seen. Like, if there's a close game in March, can he play like 35 minutes and stay in for the entire second half? TBD.
TBD.
Um,
Upcoming this week here. We start off. Sorry, Greg, you had a comment?
I was just gonna say, well, I might save it, but we're looking at five and maybe six protected seeds. How many did the SEC get last year? Is that some sort of record? If the Big 12 were to get six,
I think six would tie the
I
record.
think,
yeah,
We left. We'll double check on that
yeah,
here, but
last year,
yeah,
mm,
because
uh,
Kansas is climbing the seed list fast.
right. Some real key upcoming games this week, really involving Texas Tech. They're at Baylor, then they're hosting Houston, and a huge one on Saturday. Um,
Yeah,
Other games to note is UCF is at Iowa State, and round two of the Holy War already. We just saw the round one like a week ago, didn't we?
yeah, it was a couple weeks ago.
Mm,
Houston, Texas Tech, you want to watch that game. It's just one of those games that you wish they would play 6 times a year because whenever they play, it's freaking awesome.
Uh, okay, we're trying to get a count on the number of SEC teams that got protective seeds
Six,
last year.
six.
It
It
was
was
six.
six. That's
Okay.
why.
Yes.
Yeah, we had
Yeah.
last year. We had Alabama, we had Florida, we had
Auburn.
Auburn, we had A&M, we had Tennessee, and we had Kentucky. It was six.
Yeah.
So I don't know that seven is in the works
Tough
here
to
at
do.
all,
Yeah.
unless
I don't
UCF
think.
goes crazy.
Yeah,
But
unless UCF goes crazy, but I could see six getting it. I could see six again from the Big 12.
uh, let's jump over to the Big Ten here. Uh, maybe, maybe not. Uh, there's the Big Ten, and Rocco still undefeated, but only seventh in the nation, believe it or not. Nebraska Cornhuskers, another nice 2-0 week. They took care of Oregon. They won at Northwestern. They did what you have to do against those teams.
They did. They did. Yeah, and I think I think the hesitation with perhaps the polls and the power numbers is they had the two road wins by their chinny chin chins at Indiana when they trailed by 16 and Illinois when they're up 16 and blew it and then hit a ridiculous three to stab the Illini in the hearts. And I think those were their two biggest games. And so those could have easily been losses. But it doesn't take anything away from the amazingness that is Nebraska ball, now 18-0. And my Huskies coming in to spoil the party on Wednesday, Chad.
Oh, yeah, this
Well,
could be this. I mean,
They're due. They're
it should
due.
be a 2-0 week. Minnesota's been a little bit tough to beat on the road also this year. So let's not say either one of these games is a given. And your Huskies have talent. I think your Huskies. We thought they'd be a tournament team, and they may still have a shot to make a run. But it's got to start
Yeah.
probably with a win this week to if they want to start that run.
yeah. If you look at what they did
And they
this
play,
week,
and the Huskies do play Illinois after Nebraska, by the way. So if you want to look at
Big week.
for the kids watching at home, if you want to look at the net rankings right now, that's what you call a 6-7 because Nebraska 6, Illinois 7.
oh God. But if you
Oh,
look at the two
no,
games,
no, hold on.
but I was just going to say that if you look at the two games that Nebraska played last week, it wasn't that those are impressive teams to beat, but they dominated them the way a top 5 level team would dominate those teams. I mean, Nebraska's ranking is legit. It's arguably lower than it even should be. And there is just, you just cannot understate the job Tim Miles is doing
Okay.
at Lincoln this year.
That's it. Titel, you got to save us here. I'm buzzing everybody else. The Illini also did what they needed to do and are looking better and better now on a 7-game winning streak.
Coach Brad Underwood had a pair of double-digit wins last week over Northwestern and Minnesota. He's won 7 in a row. He should destroy Maryland on Wednesday to make it 8 in a row, and then the huge road trip to Purdue on Saturday. To be honest, though, I'm almost more impressed by their losses. 4 points to Alabama, 3 points to the undefeated Nebraska Cornhuskers, and they lost at MSG to a UConn team that's only a few points away from being undefeated themselves. A lot of close games, not a lot of close games so far. If they ever have one, 80% from the free throw line is third in the nation. They'll probably save their butts. And I wasn't sure if having so many Vitches on the roster would pay dividends, but considering 4 of their top 6 guys are Andrei Stojakovic, David Mirkovic, Tomislav Ivicic, and Zvonimir Ivicic, I think we can all agree that, as they say in Serbian, Balkan Shi igrati, or Balkan's gonna ball.
That's it. I'm buzzing all three of you. Someone's got to save us here, though. Uh, Griggs, Purdue
Yeah.
took care of Iowa at home, now on a 9-game winning streak. And it was almost because when they lost to Iowa State badly, we almost half wrote them off. But this team, I think, is right there on track for a 1 seed at this point.
Yeah, I agree, and the opportunities to get up there are certainly in front of them. Being in the Big Ten, that Iowa State game, I think that was a combination of just a great effort by Iowa State and Purdue, it not being their best game. But they've won everything else. They've won away from home in places that are really hard to win. I agree with you. They're within reach of a 1 seed.
Rocco, one other team real quick. Iowa had a lot of holes in their resume. I think they filled one of them with a nice road win this week, even though they lost to Purdue. The win at Indiana may have moved a little bit the needle here on the Hawkeyes a little bit.
I think so. Yeah, it gives them a quad one road win and a team that potentially could be a tournament team in Indiana. Probably still barely out as we went through the exercise last night, but
Mhm.
certainly a tough place to win. And, a team that really hasn't recovered since that Nebraska letdown when they were up 16 just hours after winning the semifinals in college football. But I think they'll heal tonight as long as they can beat Miami in football, and everything will be well and dandy in Bloomington. As for Iowa, yeah, like we've been talking about for a few weeks and months, that this team plays incredibly hard. They set the tone. I mean, you look at the rebounding numbers in the Purdue loss. There's such a low amount of rebounds available because Iowa milks the heck out of the clock. And it was interesting to see their loss to Illinois like a week ago as well, because Illinois is playing that style as well, and it's working. So Ben McCollum already getting some copycats. That's a good sign for Iowa themselves.
Yeah, and they've got a lot of winnable games ahead until about February 11th, and then the schedule takes a complete 180. And this may be one of the toughest schedules, last end of February, early March schedules that anyone in the nation has.
Yeah, that is a very almost purposefully backloaded schedule.
Mhm.
That is
Mhm.
remarkable.
Uh,
I would
uh,
still put I would still put Washington's current schedule right now up against anybody. It's
Yeah.
insane.
Hmm.
yeah,
It's absolutely insane. They just played Michigan and Michigan State. They go to Nebraska and have Illinois. And before that, I mean, only Ohio State was mixed in, but they had Purdue and Indiana on the road before that.
yeah,
Yeah.
Played everybody in January.
that is rough too. A quick note here: Michigan did have a nice 2-0 week as well, doing what they need to do. But let's take a look at the upcoming schedule. Uh, Purdue with a road trip here to UCLA coming up tomorrow night. It's a tough road game there. Uh,
Yeah, Mick Cronin in such a happy, jolly mood, going to welcome the Boilers to town.
Indiana at Michigan. We've got
One
Illinois at
note on the
yeah.
Go ahead, Rock.
Oh yeah, sorry. Just one note on Wednesday night for USC hosting Northwestern. Elijah Arenas will make his debut. He is probable already, but I've been told he will play. Five-star freshman, of course, had the car wreck last spring, got
Yeah.
re-injured again in camp, and we'll finally get to see this phenom play on Wednesday.
Awesome. We've also got Indiana, Michigan tomorrow night. Ohio State, Michigan on Friday. Illinois, Purdue is a huge one coming up Saturday. USC, Wisconsin one on Sunday, and game coming up here tonight. Indiana and Ohio State.
Yeah.
Different sport, but I think that's kind of
Ohio
what.
State.
Oh, I'm sorry, that should be Indiana and Miami. I think that I don't know how that happened, honestly. Indiana and Miami.
Is
Uh,
this from the Big Ten championship game?
I
Yeah,
guess it is.
this is
I think we had a mistake there in the.
yeah, I think Big Ten
That
Network
is
is
supposed to
rerunning
say
the game.
Indiana versus Miami. Pretend it does. Indiana and Miami coming up tonight. Wow. Don't know.
Well, how are they going to play on back-to-back nights if they got or Ohio State tonight and Michigan tomorrow?
They got Indiana.
Chad is
Indiana. Uh,
Chad is waiting. Chad is waiting for everybody at the Bluebird in Bloomington right now. He's already had 85 drinks. Come
Yeah.
by him. Come by him round 86.
let's go to
Yeah.
the ACC instead. How about that? And
That is a lot of people at the Bluebird for tonight's Chicago State New Haven game. Wow, that is a big
uh,
crowd.
Rocco, let me start with you here in the ACC. The Duke Blue Devils. Uh,
Yeah.
I know you saw them Wednesday night. They were the second team
Yep.
ever to go in the ACC to go 2-0 on that California road trip. But they did what they need to do.
It's a funny stat because it just seemed like it was going to take a Herculean effort to beat Duke on either night. And the way they pounded Stanford Saturday was just wow.
God.
Just yeah, it was a total undressing there in Palo Alto. But the Cal game was a little bit of Cal played really well first half. Refs kind of took over second half, but Duke, it's a credit to them. It's hard to officiate their games based on just the sheer size. They're the second largest team, average height wise per Ken Palm. The guy that really stood out to me, obviously everybody knows Cam Boozer, best offensive player in the country. Pretty sizable advantage for him. But Isaiah Evans, man, that guy has the wingspan. I don't know the exact length, but his arms are everybody. He looks like a velociraptor playing defense. Just takes away simple passes, makes life really, really hard on opposing offenses. And then, of course, Dame Sarr also and Malik Brown also very, very terrific on the defensive end. Malik Brown right now seventh in the country in steal rate. And I think that's the undertold part of the Duke story is their team defense is actually better than their team offense as you look at the adjusted efficiency. And it's just so difficult to get a run going. I know Cal got a couple 6-0 runs, but those got knocked in the bud, and they went on some serious droughts against this defense.
Yeah, Tytel, their good friends over at Carolina took the same road trip and had the exact opposite results this week.
Not so good for the Tar Heels. I don't think it's a season ender or anything like that because there's still plenty of time left and they still got plenty of good on their schedule from earlier. They beat Kansas, they beat Kentucky, they beat Ohio State. But certainly, I mean, Rocco knows better than anybody. Like, you can't just walk into the Bay Area and win a game, much less two games. And they were only by single digits, but still a bad week. They should rebound at home against Notre Dame on Wednesday. I think they're going to destroy the Irish because they're angry. And then a huge road trip the other direction to Charlottesville on Saturday, which will be a very tough game.
One of the things, if you go back to the profile, North Carolina just 1-3 in true road games. And you look at the road games they have, I don't see them beating Virginia. I don't see them winning at Miami. Like NC State and Syracuse, how important are those? Because if they can't get at least one more, that would be a categorical disqualification.
I don't know. I mean, if they beat Duke at home, they beat Louisville at home. I think.
Yeah, the committee's never selected a team that didn't get at least two. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. So.
Griggs, Virginia, another team that had a very, very nice week. Win at Louisville, win at SMU this week.
Yeah. Just one loss really since that game against Butler around Thanksgiving.
And it was a triple overtime.
Yeah. And it was to their rivals, but I mean, they had a great week. They're having a great season. And you look at that profile, they've won at Louisville, at SMU, at Tech. I'm not sold on NC State, but that is a solid resume. And they're just playing better. And you start to wonder, like, why isn't the spotlight on them a little bit brighter than what it is? They did get into the top 15. So I guess the voters are starting to notice. But I mean, shouldn't this not just be a protected seed, but an obvious protected seed? I mean, that is a hell of a profile.
I agree with you that this team is playing as good as anyone in the conference, maybe outside of Duke right now.
Yeah, I would say everyone outside of Duke. Yeah,
they don't play Duke till the end of February, so we won't have that answer. He did mention NC State though, Rocco. We got to take a look here because this is a team that is going in the wrong direction. Bad home loss to Georgia Tech this week.
Yeah, I mean that was a killer for NC State, and I think they have a lot of making up to do now. They get an opportunity right out of the gate, though. That's the good news. After a bad loss, you want to go play a good game. Well, here you go. You get to go to Little John Coliseum tomorrow night. I think if they win that, they're kind of back to where they were. But that's a big if because Clemson's playing extremely well. Clemson, by the way, while we're talking about the Tigers, #1 defense in America over the last 5 weeks of basketball, with a lot of important games they've played too. So that's going to be a very difficult task for Will Wade's group that is really playing, let's just call it an immature brand of basketball. And Darian Williams, for the record, deserves to be called out a little bit. These guys are getting paid a ton right now. Who knows what his price tag was? Likely north of $4 million for him alone. And he's 22 for his last 72 field goals, Chad. And that includes a 2 for 11 the other night against Georgia Tech. That's just not getting it done. That's not a good investment so far. And I'm surprised just as much as anybody because I had Darian right there in San Francisco, best player probably in our regional in the West last year, at least individually. I'm surprised he needs to get it rolling. Maybe he hired a little bit of a chef that is not giving him the right quality of food. But this is a huge problem going on in Raleigh, and I don't think it's something you can fix in 2 days to get ready for Little John.
Yeah, he might be on the trade block on the block before we hit the trading deadline here.
Yeah.
Oh wait,
Nick Cronin might be looking to make a move.
Let's Titel, Syracuse. team we haven't really discussed much this year. They got a couple bad losses, but you have some thoughts on them?
I mean, to be fair, they haven't been worth discussing, Chad, but I think that we need to just figure out who they are because I can't do it. So Adrian Autry comes in last year. He only won 14 games, which was the school's fewest in 55 years. And then they're the only school in this conference returning its top two scorers, JJ Starling and Donnie Freeman. So I had some high hopes, but they lost 3 in 3 days at the Players Era Festival in Vegas due in large part to Freeman being injured and in larger part to a brutal bracket, Houston, Kansas, and Iowa State. They fly back to the East Coast. They beat Tennessee. I thought, oh, maybe they're turning things around. They started conference play 3-1. Freeman was healthy, and then you lose at BC last Saturday in overtime, after having not one but two different guys with 7 turnovers. And the schedule gets much harder for the month ahead. If they can't beat Tech at home on Wednesday, there's a real shot that they're going to finish the year with a losing record. And when you're one of the worst free throw shooting teams in the nation, under 63%, that's not going to do you any favors either.
Yeah, that was not a good showing, losing at Boston College ever by
Oh,
anybody.
oh,
It's,
doesn't
it's
that
not a good.
autom
It's not a good showing when an NEC team loses at Boston College, let alone an
right?
ACC team.
Well, like Chad, I know that you have all of the bracketing rules and guidelines plugged into the workbooks that we use. Does the loss at Boston College disqualify Syracuse for the NCAA tournament?
It might. They may
Okay.
not even
Good.
they might even be to the ACC tournament. They only do take the
Yeah.
top 15 teams, by the way. Um, uh, Upcoming this week here, we've got, let's see, NC State at Clemson coming up tomorrow night. Uh, Tech with a road test at Syracuse, the aforementioned team. Clemson has a road test here. North Carolina, Virginia, probably the big one on Saturday. Uh,
Yeah.
Cal, Stanford, Tech, Louisville. Louisville at Duke coming up next Monday night. And let's see what we can do here. Make a little fix here. It is
Thank you.
it is Indiana versus Miami.
The Red Hawks taking on the Hoosiers tonight. Big game.
Let's go. Indiana and Miami tonight. Let's go on here to the what's up next? The Big East. Griggs over in the Big East. UConn did something that's been years since they've done. They won at Seton Hall last week,
Yeah, and they really had to sweat to do it.
and sweat even more on Saturday, by the way.
Yeah. So holding serve in in sort of a cardiac sort of way. UConn, I mean, all in all, they're still having an incredible season, and the game on Saturday was probably more surprising that they would struggle. You knew Seton Hall would be up for this. UConn really came out, jumped out. Seton Hall had to really fight to get back into it and had a chance, I think, on their last possession to tie. They didn't score, and then after free throws, it opened it up to 5. But this game really did come down to the last possession, as did Georgetown. I don't know. My theory is, did the Big East League office contact UConn and be like, "Hey, listen, our television deal, we've got a problem. People are changing the stations. You got to just do something to make the games more interesting so we can get our ratings up, or what?"
I'll tell you, a team that had a real good week, Rocco St. John's. 2-0 week, including the win at Villanova. And
Yeah.
I think the Johnnies might be back to being the team that we thought they would be.
Well, I think they finally started to drill down the right rotations with some experimentation throughout the non-conference. It's really drilled into a two-man, obviously with Zuby and Bryce Hopkins just being awesome. But Dylan Mitchell's really been stepping it up lately, playing highly efficient. He had a 10 rebound game, 10-point double-double in this Villanova, kind of the unsung hero of the game. Ian Jackson starting to be more consistent. They had hoped like crazy for that coming out of North Carolina with all types of hype and put up 18 in the Villanova win as well. And really being less dependent on Dylan Darling and some of the other guys. And so, and even Jason Sanon's been backburnered a little bit coming off the bench. So I think that's helped because St. John's, when they were going through it a little bit, were struggling to find that right lineup combo. Now they've ripped off 4 in a row, and 3 of them are true road wins, and that's an amazing sign.
Yeah, they got
Yeah.
Seton Hall coming up next, and Titel Seton Hall. Yeah, they lose to UConn, okay. Then you lose a home game to Butler, and maybe we then also start remembering that they needed incredible comebacks to beat teams like Creighton and Marquette already this year.
They
In
did, and
Providence.
it's excusable. I mean, I think Butler is playing better after some ups and downs themselves. Losing to UConn anywhere, anytime is not a bad loss. Doesn't get any easier. We're going to St. John's tomorrow on Tuesday, but I would not give up on Seton Hall just yet. I think Shaheen Holloway's a good coach who's
Very good.
taken all these guys. He doesn't have a bunch of five stars and McDonald's All-Americans, but he brings in guys like Adam Clark and he keeps guys and he just gets it done. And they're tough to play against because the defense is suffocating. They're 10th in the nation in Ken Palm adjusted defensive efficiency. So bad week, but I would not write them off just yet.
Yeah, but Rocco, as a bracketologist, also you suddenly look at this resume, you realize they haven't beat anybody that's a tournament team, and the metrics are saying you're a bubble team. Clearly,
Yeah.
especially those predictives.
Yeah, they're right in that cut, that 10, 11, first four to Dayton area at this point. Holding on just enough, I think, for today. But you start losing games like the Butler game at home. If any of that is something that's going to continue and become a trend, they're going to be way out of the tournament picture in a month, or by March. So
Sooner, maybe.
yeah, and I think at this point in the year, it's more important to focus on what's actually going on the court than worrying about the resume, because they're a team that's predicated on playing tremendously hard, which takes a lot of effort and hustle and defense. And if they let their foot off the gas on any night, then the rest of these Big East teams can catch them and pass them, and that's been the problem.
So when you
Uh,
look at these upcoming games, the Johnnies they're probably swinging over their heads, but the three after that, don't you feel like they have to win all three of those? I mean,
They
I
should
know
win all three of
that
those.
kind of counters what Rocco just said. You can't really worry about the resume, but if you are worried about the resume, don't they have to
you
win
got.
those as
I
well?
think you're right. They do have to. Before we move on, Rocco, DePaul. Quick comment on them.
Well, they've won three Big East games now, and they've won three in a row at home. This is one of the most amazing stats that you probably saw all weekend. If you didn't see it, the stat is it's DePaul's first three-game Big East home win streak, just home win streak since 2007. Basically, a 20-year drought from ever stringing three Big East wins together at home. Obviously we saw Coach go and Chris Holtman go and buy everybody beers at the bar after the Marquette win. But hey, at least DePaul's like legitimately credible, at least for now, and in the mix a little bit.
And
Chris
I
Holtman,
mean,
a phenomenal coach everywhere he's been. Gardner Webb, when he was there, they were better than they are now, believe it or not. And fantastic job at Butler, and I thought he did well at Ohio State. But DePaul's not having a year where we're going to discuss them often, but I think he can do it. I think he can get them going.
well, I'll tell you, this suddenly makes this Saturday game, Seton Hall at DePaul, maybe a fascinating game.
Yeah.
3-game winning streak in
Yeah.
conference for DePaul at home. Seton Hall, who could be on a bad losing streak coming into this and really needing to win. Probably the game of the week, though,
Right.
might be this Villanova UConn game Saturday, although it is at UConn. So
Yeah, I want to point one out. John Stalika not with us today. The Johnnies at Xavier, the Patino Bowl on Saturday. First,
yes, oh,
edition
thank
of
you.
that.
Yeah, that's big.
Yeah.
That's big.
Yeah.
Uh, let's jump over to the Mountain West Conference here, where Titel, maybe the story of the week here was Grand Canyon and their win over Utah State, giving Utah State their first conference loss of the season.
Lopes up. It has been an inconsistent season for Coach Bryce Drew. He's made 4 of the past 5 tournaments as the WAC tourney champ, but in his second game since switching conferences last summer, he had the 9-point home loss to Youngstown State. But luckily, the Lopes have looked lovely in conference play. Road wins at Wyoming and Boise, and they gave Utah State just their second loss of the year last Saturday. If they can meet the Aztecs at home on Wednesday, then I think they are a serious threat to win this regular season title. Transfer Jaden Henley played great for UNLV last year. He was top 5 in the league in steals and free throw shooting. So his familiarity with the opponents is evident because he's top 5 in the league this year in scoring and steals. I used to get very nervous about guys who were like on their 4th school in 4 years, but thanks to the transfer portal, we now live in an era of 3 strikes and you're still up to bat.
So, uh, the other story this week, Griggs, San Diego State, now on a 7-game winning streak with their win
Yeah.
win over New Mexico and their win at Wyoming. Wow.
Yeah, and that was a good game. I mean, that game against New Mexico battled back, and it looked like. But every time San Diego State needed to come up with a big play, it seemed like that they did. That's just a fun series. It's two of the great student sections in the country, really. The show, and then do the Lobos have a name at the pit, whatever if they have. But that was a big game. And
Yes, the
San Diego
pit.
State, while they're what is it, Rock?
The pit, yeah,
Yeah,
of
yeah,
course.
I know that's the name of the building. I didn't know if the student section had a name, but
Oh, okay.
the San Diego State, they kind of stumbled out of the gate, and then they twisted their ankle when they tried to get up from stumbling initially. But they're really on a roll now. Rocco made this point the other night: is there enough runway left for them to build up the kind of profile they need to be to land inside the bubble, or did they just fall too far behind out of conference?
Well, they got it's the tough. They got to hold serve, I think, in the tough road games, like the two games against the Lopes, like the game at UNLV, and then
Yeah,
but you have the chances there. A game at New Mexico and two against Utah State. The chances are ahead of them. Uh,
yeah.
but Rocco, real quick on this New Mexico team, a 1-1 week this past week, but still a team that we ended up putting in our field last night.
Yeah, I mean, Tomislav Bulhan has been just phenomenal. He goes for 20 points and 14 rebounds in the loss. Obviously, the six turnovers were costly, but Jake Hall's been a lights out freshman, deadly shooter. Great find by Eric Olin, very under recruited shooter. He would have been at UC San Diego if Eric Olin didn't get this job. And I think they've done a nice job with guys like Luke Haupt and Dayton Albury was a kind of just available for anybody. And they took chances on all these guys. They've also won a lot of these big games without their best defender, Chris Howell, who obviously came with Olin from UC San Diego. I like the team a lot. I like the trajectory they're on. Really not a bad loss. I mean, if you want to look at the rivalry loss to New Mexico State early as a bad loss, fine. But that you guys know how crazy that series is. And
Yeah.
they're beating everybody else they're supposed to beat and picking up some good wins along the way, winning at Colorado State, winning at VCU. Those are very quality road wins.
And they're already through a couple of their toughest road trips with at San Diego State, at Boise State gone, at Utah
Yeah.
State not coming until the end of the season here. Uh, but
Grand Canyon will be tough, and that's
yeah,
probably and Utah State. Yeah, those
yeah.
two.
Upcoming this week in the Mountain West Conference, we want to take a look at San Diego State. They're going to be uh, at Grand Canyon, big game Wednesday night at
That's a
UNLV.
big one. Yeah.
While Utah State
That
hosting
crowd is going
Vegas.
to be insane.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it will
crowd's going to
be.
be insane at Grand Canyon. Out of control.
Utah State at Colorado State, a potential trap game there as well. While New Mexico gets a pair of home games against Fresno and Nevada. Uh, but let's Rocco, let me stick with you. Go jump over to the West Coast Conference where we saw Santa Clara pick up that win
Mhm.
over St. Mary's and suddenly get themselves onto the map. I think.
Yeah, definitely. I think the wins above bubble metric would agree with Chad. They've cracked the top 50, which again, these committee members seem to be drooling over that metric, whether you agree with it or not. The thing that made me so impressed about this win is, well, first of all, I think they had lost eight in a row to St. Mary's. I was at the game last year when St. Mary's went on a 30-0 run, and Randy Bennett's just had Herb Sendek's number over and over and over again. And they play a lot in the semifinals too, each year at the WCC tournament, and it's always St. Mary's advancing. So this was a monumental win for the program to do it here in the first meeting of the season. And I think the way the game played out, with it being such a slog, a defensive struggle, barely in the 50s with about 5 minutes to go, they end up winning this thing 62-54. That's certainly much more of a Randy Bennett type of crippling type of game flow. And Santa Clara still met them in that type of game. That to me is a really good sign of a team that can win in a variety of ways. We know Santa Clara typically prefers to get up and down and overwhelm you. And I think on the interior, where St. Mary's has been able to overmatch everybody with the two 7-footers, you have McKeever at 7'3", who's been awesome this year, and Harry Wessels at 7'1", and of course Morauskas is 6'8", 240 in a load himself. Santa Clara has the guys to match up with that with Buki, Aboye at 7'1", obviously a freak. Alan Graves, the freshman, is getting NBA scouts drooling all over him at 6'9", 225, and Jake Ensminger's healthy now at 6'9". So they matched up with them on the front line and neutralized St. Mary's. That to me also was very impressive. And I think Santa Clara has a chance to actually finish in the top two of the conference.
I think the danger thing for Santa Clara in terms of an at-large bid, other than the Gonzaga and St. Mary's games they have left, everything is probably, I mean, there might be one or two tier twos in there, but there's a lot of tier three losses there if you lose. So you just can't afford these losses. You look at this, four out of their next five on the road, and they may need to go 5-0 in this stretch. So,
And
I think
historically,
they
they do.
do. Yeah,
Historically, they stub their toe historically.
yeah.
they've already
Always.
done that. They may have broken their toe against Loyola Chicago.
Titel, St. Mary's, on the other hand, uh, we'd been kind of very easily putting them in our field all season. Are we suddenly, a little bit questionable whether or not this team is just solidly going to be in the field at the end of the day?
Yes, I mean J&G says they're in. Predictive metrics are right there. Had the Boise State game gone 1 point in their direction, then I think this is a whole different resume because when you only have tier one losses, even though there's no tier one wins, you're looking good. They're good on the road. They're decent neutrals, so not totally a home court hero, even though they are undefeated at home. Um, is are they going to beat Gonzaga? I don't know. Like the Zags are great, but they also have injury problems with Huff and Ek recently. So like if they can steal one
Yeah.
at the Zags at the end of this month, then I think they're looking great. If they lose that one but win all the others, which again, there's a lot of these outside the top 200 net, like they should have stacked wins. They should have at least 25 wins this year.
Again, I think it's the same problem that Santa Clara could have. Any loss other than Santa Clara or Gonzaga could become an anchor loss.
Yep.
Yeah.
Upcoming this week in the WCC, we obviously will look at the Zags. They are going to be hosting Pepperdine and San Francisco. Santa Clara are going to be at San Diego, and St. Mary's hosting Oregon State and at Portland. All three teams need perfect weeks this week, quite honestly.
They
Uh,
do.
Over in the A10, where
Woo!
I think we got a
This
couple of
conference is
stories.
to basketball what the
First of
Renaissance was
all,
to art.
First of all, let's start by congratulating St. Louis. Welcome to the top 25 in both polls this week. And how about the St. Louis team, Griggs? Here they are, 17-1 overall.
Yeah, having a great year. I'm really big on them. I don't know how the actual committee will treat them, probably 9 seed range or so, 8, 9. But this is a really good team that's unfortunately played a really weak schedule. And I just don't think that because of that, the spotlight, it's been hard for them to get the spotlight on themselves and get the voters to recognize them, but they've done it now. They do have that
And that
nice
Santa Clara win suddenly looking so much better after this week.
Yeah, it really is. But you can't. One of the things I would imagine in Titel and Rocco, who guess the committee, can comment on this too. Uh, that strength of schedule, you almost have to overcome it because that is a reason to move them down or not select them at all. So if there's any question as to whether or not they should be in or should be selected, uh, they're probably going to end up on the wrong side of it, which means their margin for error, while their team is good and while they're capable of doing it, is still very small the rest of the way. And going to St. Bonaventure, going to Rhodey, well, maybe going to Dayton and going to Mason, those are going to be hard games to win.
Yeah, especially Rocco going to Mason. Can you imagine if both teams are undefeated in conference play heading into the final day of the season? I don't know that's going to happen, but they only meet once. It's not till March 7th.
I do hope, on that note, I don't expect that by any means. The A10 is way too tough,
Yeah.
but I do hope that that game has massive stakes because we've already started to anticipate it for a while now, and we still have a lot of runway. So it could be a dud later, but it could be pretty amazing. The thing would be is right now, George Mason's cracked the top 40 of the WAB, and that's a big deal. St. Louis is really clearly in the top 25-ish. And if they're both in the top 30 by then, maybe top 35 of that metric, then it's a win-win situation. Whoever loses is totally fine, and the winner just excels. So that's where the league needs them to get to, whether that means they have to be perfect until then or not. That's the thing I'm looking at the closest. But otherwise, if they're both kind of towards the 50 range, it's a loser out type of game from an at-large point of view.
Uh, One of the toughest teams for them both to get through is putting on finishing touches on St. Joe's as we record this title, VCU.
New coach Phil Martelli Jr. You know how I like the first year coaches. Started 11-4. Did drop a pair of games to St. Louis and GMU. They're each 17-1, so no sweat about that. Bounced back with the win at Rhode Island last Wednesday. Each of his next five are against teams who are outside the top 120. So I think, or 119 since Richmond's 120. So I like his chances of being 17-6 when they host Dayton on February 6th. The key has been free throws. They're top 20 in the nation at taking them and making them. Their leading rebounder and shot blocker missed their last game due to illness, but it's their leading scorer, Terrence Hill Jr., who's been sick. He only scored 3 points a game last year as a freshman. This year he's tops on the team, 15 points a game, shooting 41% behind the arc, 88% at the free throw line. I don't mind that he never starts because the players who finish the games are the most important ones. I do not understand why he's only playing 20 minutes a game. Are they like saving him for the AC8 or something?
Upcoming this week here in the A10, Mason, they're going to be hosting GW later tonight as we record this, and then at
Yeah.
Rhode Island, while SLU is going to be at Duquesne and at St. Bonaventure. Could be a trap game Friday. Keep an eye on that one. VCU, by the way, at Davidson this weekend after they finish off the game against St. Joe's. They're playing right now. We are not quite done with all the teams, though. Let us
Yeah.
welcome a new team to the podcast. Let us welcome the Miami, Ohio Redhawks. Crack the top 25 in the AP poll. Here they are, Griggs, at 19-0, undefeated, and finally ranked. And we haven't had an under the
Yeah.
radar team on the Hoops HD report in 3 years.
Yeah. And I mean it's a team that we've been following all year long. They were our preseason pick to win the MAC. They're certainly living up to that. And I think this week, tomorrow, actually, they've got what I think will be their toughest game of the year to date. It's at Kent State. I think they're a better team than Kent State, but to go on the road and beat them there is going to be harder to do than any game that they've played so far. And because of the ranking, you got to imagine that it's going to be a showcase type of game for Kent State. We've seen that atmosphere. It
Oh,
can
it
get
is.
pretty wild. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be wild. That is going to be a really, really, really hard
Did you
game
see
to
the
win. And
promotion?
well, yeah, yeah, they're buying. We touched on that before. I
Free
think
beer, free beer night.
free beer night. Yeah. Uh,
First 1,000 students get a free Bud Light from Coach.
If they're
yeah.
21 and over.
If they're 21 and over, or if they go with
If they're
someone that's
21 over.
21 and they give them the beer. But
We're not encouraging that, by the way. We're also not encouraging those fake IDs. We are not encouraging that.
yeah. Um,
As somebody who's covered games in the half-empty Mac Center, I am all for the promotion.
yeah. And you look at that, after that, in looking at like what is their runway, and I tell Rocco, if they drop the game tomorrow and they lose either the game at Buffalo or the game at Marshall, despite all these wins, does one of their wins need to be that last MAC tournament game? How many strikes do they have? Because I don't think they're going to win tomorrow.
I'll give them two strikes, Rocco. I think that would give them a 30-win season or so. So I think they're in with that.
I would love to see that. I just a lot of the wins don't add up to a lot. The Akron series sadly was only a one-game series, and they played them at home. That would have helped a lot.
Yeah.
And outside of that, their best road win is Bowling Green right now, and Wright State, I guess, and those two in Toledo. It's just, I don't know, man. Like the way that these committee members were talking about UC San Diego and Drake last year was, let's just call it heartbreaking if you care about
Yeah.
the soul of the sport. And if they were willing to leave those two potentially out, I don't think Miami, Ohio would have a prayer with three losses. Now, if they drop one and then drop the MAC championship game, then I would hope
Well,
you and Titel are correct.
just quick note. losing 3 games and one of them being the MAC title game would be they'd be 31-3. Wow.
Oh
Uh,
man.
I
if
know, I know. I
or
don't
even
even want to predict it or suggest that they won't be in, but my trust
Yeah,
level has is at an all-time low with the
yeah. But the
committee
point,
and mid majors.
yeah, in assessing this team on the Big Boy Show now, the Hoops HD Report, one of the things that we need to point out about them is that their margin for error is very small.
well
This is a good team. They're richly deserving of the ranking. They've won all the games they've played. They're an exciting team to watch. Travis Steele has done very well, and I am legit rooting for them because I love these under the radar teams. My favorite thing of the sport is watching them succeed on this level. Uh, but it's going to be hard for them to do it.
Yeah, there's a couple numbers
Yeah.
here. Obviously, not all their fault, but that strength of
Yeah,
schedule of 354. I know it's so tough for these teams to schedule, but that's rough. 3 non-D1 games, and then you look at the predicted metrics. 90, 78, and Torvik is the best. Those are not tournament at-large numbers, unfortunately.
yeah,
Which can say, hey, listen, had these guys played a tougher schedule, what would they have done? You look at those predicted metrics, and they say they would
yeah.
have
It's
lost
too
a lot
bad
more
nobody would
games.
play them because it wasn't from a lack of trying.
But we'll see what happens this week. Huge, like Griggs mentioned, probably their toughest, maybe even their toughest game to date. That game at Bowling Green was a real good win, also. But as was
Yeah,
the game at Wright State, although Wright State was not playing as well then when they as they are playing now.
right.
Uh, that does complete all of our teams for the night. And Tytel, let's turn over to final thoughts and the other topic that we didn't hit at the top of the show. Let's throw it right on up there.
So I wanted to talk about the point shaving scheme. It is the biggest story in the sport last week. There was a federal indictment unsealed on Thursday alleging that there were dozens of games fixed by a gambling ring. They used more than 39 players on 17 different D1 teams. Most of the schools whose players were indicted are of the under the radar variety, but I wanted to mention it today because there were several that belonged to bigger conferences: DePaul, Fordham, LaSalle, St. Louis, Tulane, amongst them. So the fixers targeted guys who didn't make a lot of NIL money because obviously, if you're making 7 figures, why would you take a bribe and risk all that? So they said, hey, will you take 10 to 40 grand to underperform? You don't have to hold yourself out of the game and you don't have to like win or lose by a certain number of points. We just need you to play under this caliber that you're used to. And the gamblers ended up winning millions of dollars on these fixed games. One of the alleged fixers, Antonio Blakeney, you might have heard of him. 2015 McDonald's All American, scored 15 points a game in 2 years at LSU, and was an All SEC player less than a decade ago in 2017. In response, NCAA President Charlie Baker, I got to meet him at the convention last week, sent a letter to the state gambling regulators calling for the elimination of prop bets so that if you bet on somebody to score under or over 10 points a game as a prop bet, that gets rid of it so you don't have to worry about that angle of it. I don't know if that's going to solve the problem, but I do know when you see that somebody's betting more than $400,000 on whether Kent State is going to cover the first half spread against Buffalo, as one of the wagers was, we got to do something before the sport spirals completely out of control.
Oh, could not agree with you more. I think you said it perfectly. Rocco, your thoughts on that or any other final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I had a show last week. I put a lot of thoughts into Titel. I agree. It's an unfortunate circumstance. We knew it was coming for a while. We had heard a lot of the teams that were impacted with their results last year: the Eastern Michigans, the New Orleans, the Nichols, and some of the SWAC teams. But yeah, the way it came down with Antonio Blakeney doing it in China first, and then coming over and grabbing $200,000 in a locker in Florida, like those details were all pretty shell shocking. And then you had the other shell shocking part, obviously for under the radar audience, but Simeon O'Connell is the Kennesaw State preseason player of the year. He's the leading scorer in the conference at the time of announcement and had played literally hours before and scoring 21 points for the Owls. So that was shocking to have such a big player in this season, as well as the Eastern Michigan player and the Delaware State, et cetera. That's pretty much all I would add to it. But I did want to do my final thought on two teams real quick. Ole Miss, we didn't talk about them in the SEC, at least from what I remember. Two big wins to really try to resurrect the season. They've now won 3 in a row. They were in a real funk at 8-7. Now sitting here at 11-7, 3-2 in the SEC. Playing a lot more, and I thought they should have been doing this earlier through Ilias, the sensation that came over from Europe. and also AJ Storr from Wisconsin. Less through Malik Dia, not relying as much on the young, a little bit of maturity from Jay Scott coming from Louisville and Charleston, and Chris Beard's still playing everybody. It's a fascinating team to follow with like 12 guys on the court every night. But he's still Chris Beard, and winning at Georgia looks even more impressive after what Georgia did to Arkansas on Saturday. And last but not least, for my local friends here at Fresno State, it's just been a program in the toilet for the last handful of years. And what a week last week to beat both Colorado State and Wyoming back-to-back home games. And they are now 3-4 in the league. Just a shout out to the Bulldogs who continue to grind. And if you would have told me they'd be 9-9, I wouldn't have cared which D1 teams they played. I would have not believed you before the season. So shout out to Fresno.
There we go. Fresno. Greg, do you want to finish off the show?
Yeah, I'll try and be as concise as I can because, and if I start to ramble on, just use the buzzer. But to get back to what Titel was talking about with the gambling schemes, I think it's far more rampant than what anybody realized. I think it's happening on a scale that's much bigger than what's actually been caught. I think every few months we're going to come up with a new list of indictments, but I also think it's happening at levels that are beyond just the organized gambling rings that the feds have targeted. You can bet on your phones. You use the term prop bets, and I think that it's basically unenforceable. I think a lot of coaches and a lot of administrators, especially at college athletics departments, like to think that they have a handle on everything. I am telling you, they do not. You don't know what 18 to 21, 22, 23-year-olds are doing when you're not around them. Even if you monitor their phones, what about their girlfriend's phones? What about their roommates or friends' phones? And you don't need to lose the game. You just need to be behind at halftime, or you just need to miss the first free throw. I don't know like how all these prop bets work. And the other thing that's really concerning to me is that I just don't think that the human male brain at that age fully comprehends the risk that they're taking. I think they're in the same mental state that kids get into when they're sneaking beer into the dorms. You're not supposed to do it, and they know they're not supposed to do it. And if you get caught, you're in trouble. Well, if you get caught doing this, you're being convicted. You're going to go to prison. You're going to be charged with a felony, and it will alter the course of your life. I know coaches watch the show. I know administrators watch the show. Don't make the mistake of thinking it can't happen at your school. It absolutely can. It probably has. And if you're a player that watches it, it's not worth it.
Yeah, I really think that, unfortunately, we may need some players to go to jail so the message gets out to other players that, hey, this is not like getting a slap on the wrist for
It's a
drinking
crime.
beers. Yeah.
It is fraud. You are committing a federal crime.
But on that note, I do want to thank everybody for joining us. We'll be back Wednesday night with Under the Radar, Sunday with another bracket rundown, next Monday with a HoopsHD Report at a regular time. But on behalf of John Titel, Rocco Miller from Bracketeer.org, David Griggs, I'm Chad Sherwood. Thanks for joining us. Talk to you again real soon.